Thank you very much, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. I want to also congratulate the incoming members of the Talloires Steering Committee and also to extend a special thanks to my friend Rob Hollister for inviting me, and thank you very much for including me here today. It's an honor to be here. I'm humbled to be here with so many leaders, educators, and I suspect many lifelong learners as well. Your membership in the Talloires network really attests to your commitment to elevating civic engagement in education, but most importantly, to really transforming education, higher education, for social good. So I'll begin. I know I was asked to address this topic of elevating the development role and contributions of higher education to combating poverty. But let me begin by actually posing a couple of questions. Are we only educating young people, or are we doing something else? I suspect we're developing leaders, but I'd like to ask if we're developing the right kind of leaders. These are questions which occupy us at the Foundation, and I'm sure they occupy many of you. At the Mastercard Foundation, we see a unique role, I could even say a significant role, a powerful role, for institutions of higher education to develop transformative leaders. Transformative leaders who will not only address poverty, but more importantly, promote prosperity and promote dignity for all people. And in fact, our foundation is banking on you, banking you as leaders of higher education to do just this. So what's transformative leadership? At the foundation, we define transformative leadership as a form of leadership that's based on integrity and self-awareness, that's driven by a sense of purpose, to close inequities, and to improve the lives of others. I can think of three leaders right away, and some of you may know them. It's the form of leadership that Sir Fazl Abed uses to fight poverty, illiteracy, and disease. Sir Fazl Abed is the founder of BRAC. BRAC is the world's largest development NGO. It's an NGO based in Bangladesh, and over the last 4 decades has literally transformed the lives of millions of people. It's the same form of leadership that Anne Cotton, the founder of CAMFED, uses to mobilize communities across Africa to keep their girls in school. And it's the same form of leadership that James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity Bank, the largest microfinance bank in East Africa, exercises. And it's his leadership that has radically, I would say, revolutionized banking for the poor. So these are 3 leaders who grew up in Bangladesh, in Kenya, and in Wales, who came from very humble backgrounds, but along the way, they had an opportunity. They had an opportunity to access education, and it transformed their lives. It transformed their own worldview of what they could do with their lives. These are people who care so profoundly about closing gaps and about promoting a more inclusive society. And their leadership embodies altruism, it embodies courage, and it embodies resilience. That's the kind of leadership we call transformative leadership. I suspect it is also similar to the leadership that you are exercising at your institutions, as you promote civic engagement and as you are at the forefront of change of what higher education is all about. And I believe that higher education is about solving the problems of community. And that community can be our local community, or it can be indeed the world. I would also say, to quote Rob Hollister, that with greater level of engagement, universities who engage in civic engagement can set the new standard for what 21st century higher education is all about. And I would add that there can be no pressing time, more pressing time. In fact, the time is now for higher education to develop socially engaged leaders. You know, on the one hand, we face really daunting challenges: conflict, disease, high levels of youth unemployment, poverty. And on the other hand, we have many, many good reasons to be optimistic. Over the last 2 decades, we have seen breakthroughs in medical innovation, in technology, in conflict resolution, and in social innovation. And when we examine these developments more closely, we often find that universities, their leadership, their faculty, their students have been frequently at the forefront of these developments. Your universities, your institutions are very special places. They're sources of innovation. They're absolutely sources of new thinking. We, whether as leaders or citizens, we look to universities for guidance, for direction, for advice. We look to you to create welcoming places where ideas can flourish, where experimentation can take place. We know from history that universities have been central to social movements, and they will continue to be central to social movements that have changed the world. Nature, a recent issue of Nature, called universities beacons of social justice. And to my mind, unlike any other institution in society, you have an unparalleled access, and I could even say a near monopoly, on a very precious renewable resource, and that is you tap into the energy of young people. You tap into their energy and you tap into their desire to make a difference in the world. Young people enter higher education at a very formative time in their lives, and you are there to provide an environment where they can discover their talents, understand their strengths, and develop the skills that they need in order to make a difference. Increasingly, I would say that one of the most powerful contributions that higher education can make to development, to poverty alleviation, is to identify and develop a pipeline of transformative leaders. Leaders like a young man I had the very good fortune to meet a few years ago. His name is Joseph Munyambanza. Joseph grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo. By the age of 6, he and his family had to flee, and they found themselves in the Changwali refugee settlement in western Uganda. It was a very, very difficult time in his life. Joseph endured many, many hardships, but more than endured, Joseph thrived. And in fact, one of the things Joseph said to me was that my leadership journey began at Changwali. At the age of 14, he and a few friends started an organization which is called Talloires. And they started this organization to address the lack of education for the children living in this camp. And so his journey began, and Talloires today is something I would call a beacon of hope, a beacon of optimism. Joseph moved on, and through a series of very, very fortunate events, Joseph had an opportunity to attend the African Leadership Academy, which is in Johannesburg. Today, he is a young man studying at Westminster College in the United States. He has dreams to further his career in public health. He has never stopped working from his dorm room for his organization. He's added on more responsibilities. He's also a special advisor to education to the UN Secretary General. Joseph has so many qualities that we admire in leaders: empathy, selflessness, hard work, vision. And yet I know that his education at Westminster College will only continue to refine that vision, refine those skills to mobilize change, the kind of change that not only DRC needs, but many countries across this continent require. And the part that I'm proudest of is that Joseph is a Mastercard Foundation scholar. That's what I'm proud of. But I'm also proud to be able to watch and think about what this young man will do with his life. At the foundation, we believe that this world should offer opportunities for all people to learn and to prosper. We believe that where you start out in life does not determine your future, and that with access to the right skills, the right tools, education, employment opportunities, the social networks, people like Joseph can transform their own lives but most importantly, they can transform the lives of others. And I think that nowhere is this desire for change felt more strongly than in the hearts of millions of hardworking people who live in poverty and who are effectively locked out. They're locked out of opportunities. On this continent, where our foundation concentrates our resources, in the 25 countries where we work, we see great opportunity for change, in part because we see a young continent, young people who have the energy, they have the desire, they have the ingenuity to actually activate change and to translate the rapid growth that's happening in the continent into a shared prosperity. Now, our foundation may have expertise and we may have resources, but we do not have the answers. And our work usually begins by listening and understanding the context and the hurdles that poor people have to overcome. And we also recognize their agency in solving some of these problems. Fortunately, we don't work alone, and increasingly, we're looking to work with universities, with institutions of higher education. There's no debate that education is a very effective path out of poverty for families and for communities. And in fact, as Cheryl alluded to a moment ago, the economic returns to education in Asia and Latin America, and especially here across Africa, the economic returns are high. More difficult to prove is the role of leadership. And yet we know, without leadership, the giant problems of our time cannot be solved. So at the Foundation, we've placed a big bet on cultivating transformative leadership. We believe that these leaders can draw attention to the key issues of our time. They can also generate solutions, they can mobilize others, and that they can actually have a profound impact on reducing poverty. So increasingly, we will look to you. We will look to you for help, for guidance, and for your collaboration. And we think that institutions of higher education are in a very powerful place to make an impact in 4 ways. And so I'll walk through these 4 ways. The first is by recruiting young people from unexpected places, from communities which have never dreamed of even sending a young person to school, let alone to university. Young people like Joseph. And I know that we have to recognize that the tools that we have are probably inadequate today to actually measure aptitude and identify and assess potential. And yet we know if we include young people like Joseph, our lives will be enriched, our experience at university will be enriched, they will bring a new way of thinking and solving problems. So number 1, recruit young people from communities which have been excluded. 2, collaborate with them. Collaborate with them to design the kind of education that's really going to change the world. And it starts with listening to the context, listening to their dreams, and what it is that they would like to solve, and including them in the design of these programs. 3, and I think this is something the Talloires network is so well poised to do. Use the opportunity to shape your civic engagement programs to develop transformative leaders. Just imagine, what if every single student had an opportunity to solve a problem for a community, to deliver a service, and in so doing, discover what it would mean to use their lives as an instrument of change. What if they could do this, have an experience before they graduated? What would it mean? What would it mean for civic engagement? What would it mean for mainstreaming civic engagement and making it basically not just a requirement, but an expectation of what higher education is all about? 4, and this is something many of you are doing, continue to collaborate across sectors. Continue to collaborate and work across disciplines. I see universities and many organizations who are part of the Talloires network as pioneers in something we would call interdisciplinary fusion. The programs and the problems that we have to solve today will require multiple perspectives, will require an interdisciplinary approach. I encourage you to continue on that path and to also engage the private sector as you do that. At the Foundation, we're trying to embed these 4 principles in the way we work across our programs, and especially in the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. As some of you know, this is our signature initiative. It's an initiative to educate and to develop next generation leaders who will solve problems. And over the next decade, we will invest $500 million to educate 15,000 young people. The vast majority of these young people will be from Africa. And we will be we're counting on university partners to be a very big part of this story. We already are working with 22 organizations around the world, and I'm so pleased, very, very pleased, that increasingly African universities will become a part of our community as well. And I'd like to just call out a few of them. Ashesi University in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah Science and Technology University, also in Ghana, the University of Pretoria, the University of Cape Town, and Makerere University in Uganda. Now I have to acknowledge, I think there are 4 scholars here. So when I call your name, will you wave your hand? Yvonne Mashabe from, Yvonne is here, who's from University of Pretoria. I believe Miriam Odonka and Frida Karwita are also here. All right. Both of them are at Ashesi University. And then Elizabeth Muthoni from Earth University is also here, from Costa Rica. It's great that you're here. We continue to learn so much from our scholars as we do from our partner universities. Each one of you teaches us something new and creates an opportunity to influence us and influence how we think. Now, I also have to call on 2 other young people, John Lungu, and Purity. Yes, Purity, hi. John and Purity are part of something known as the Mastercard Foundation Youth Think Tank. And we have come to rely on our think tank to give us unfettered, unfiltered feedback, as well as research, on how we need to be improving our programs to create economic opportunities for young people. It's an initiative we take very, very seriously, and it's a way for young people to directly influence the course and the direction of our foundation. I also have to mention clearly our delight to partner with the Talloires Network on the Youth Economic Participation Initiative, which is all focused on engaging universities in preparing young people for economic life after graduation. It is what Cheryl spoke about a moment ago. So in conclusion, I believe that the Talloires Network is at the forefront of change. You're at the forefront of what higher education should be all about. You're already working across disciplines. You already are promoting ethical leadership. So by continuing on this path, you will bring all of us new insights. You'll bring all of us fresh ideas to solve all problems. And in so doing, I believe you will also transform your institutions. Now, in 1966, Madiba said that universities are essential in the preparation of highly skilled leaders throughout society. He said that at a time when he was calling on universities to produce the leaders that Africa needs. The power of universities to develop truly effective leaders is a call that still rings true today. And it is a call and one that we at the Foundation believe in unequivocally. Thank you for listening to me.